So we welcome to this session titled Identifying High Impact Instructional Strategies to Improve Student Progression in First Year Writing Courses. Our presenter, Dr. Hazar Shehadeh, I don't know if I said that correctly, Hazar, is an associate professor at the University of Arizona Global Campus. She has taught English, ESL, film criticism, linguistics, literature, and humanities courses, working and supporting undergraduate and graduate learners since 2009. She has served and led different committees to review, revise, design curricula, and she has developed and reviewed online and hybrid courses for various institutions. Her research focuses on improving minority students' academic performance and examining different instructional methods to increase student academic achievement and retention. Thank you and welcome everybody to this session.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I'll go ahead and share my screen. And can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so this presentation will cover the results of one of my OSIP studies on the impact of instructional strategies on student course progression rates. Oh, sorry, let me go back. Okay, so just, a bit of background information. First-year courses serve as the foundation for academic success for many students. However, despite retention initiatives across higher education institutions, student progression remains a challenge. There are different factors that influence the student progression rates in higher education, and many of which the instructor cannot control. While there are external factors such as financial aid, family background, and prior academic performance that impact student progression, instructional techniques can also influence and impact student persistence, especially in first-year courses. So what does this mean? It means that instructors may have a direct effect on the development of engagement and motivation in students when using different teaching strategies, such as active learning, clear explanation, and engaging activities that create positive learning experiences. And in turn, this would enhance student motivation and commitment to continuing their academic pathways. Despite this, less research has examined precisely how instructors directly contribute to the differences in progression rates in first-year courses like English 121 and English 122. So identifying these differences is very important because it would suggest that instructor-level factors such as feedback, engagement, and communication styles play a measurable role in student persistence. So this study identified teaching patterns among faculty with the highest progression rates in English 121 and English 122, comparing these strategies with those of lower progression instructors to identify the most effective instructional strategies. And here we have the two guiding research questions for this study. We used a mixed method approach in this research. And to answer the first question, Dr. Nate Pritz and I analyzed whether progression rates were significantly different among instructors teaching English 121 and English 122 over 2 years, 222 to 224. For the second research question, we used purposive sampling to select instructors from the top and bottom 20% in progression rates. These instructors completed the STEM online course auto-report survey adapted for our study, which focused on course structure, course management system, engagement, feedback, and instructional strategies. Student progression, I want to define student progression. Student progression refers to the process of guiding students through the necessary coursework to fulfill graduation requirements. However, in this study, and this is the definition we have at UAGC, progression rate is defined as students' active attendance in the subsequent course within 2 weeks of the previous course end date. And this specific definition allows for a precise measurement of course-to-course persistence, distinguishing from broader retention metrics that we use. So let's move to data analysis. A total of 90 part-time faculty or associate faculty taught English 121 and English 122 in 2022, 2023, and 2024. To answer the first research question, analysis was conducted to examine whether the number of sections an instructor teaches impacts their progression rate. We found that the average number of students taught by instructors was 179, with a median count of 166 students. The average instructor progression rate was 72.8%, with a standard deviation of 6.85%, suggesting a moderate variability. The standard deviation indicated that while there was some fluctuation in progression rates, the variance was not excessively large. So most instructors had rates close to the average, but the standard deviation was much larger for student count, 113, and section count, 5 courses. And this suggests greater variation in the number of students and section assigned to instructors. What does that mean? It means that some instructors taught significantly more or fewer students and sections than others. On average, we found that instructors taught 179 students, but the median student count was 166, indicating that some instructors had higher than average enrollments, which likely skews the distribution. So, the top 20% of instructors had an average progression rate of 82.2% compared to 64.3% for the bottom 20% instructors. While the top group taught slightly fewer students and sections, only the progression rate difference was statistically significant. That's why we did a refined analysis and we focused on instructors teaching 7 or more sections, and the results confirmed the same pattern. Top performers averaged 77.8% progression versus 68.2% of the bottom group, with no significant differences in student or section counts. So the data shows that teaching fewer courses does not automatically translate to better student progression. In fact, we compared instructors with similar course loads, and the difference in progression rates remained the same, remained significant. And this tells us that factors like teaching strategies, course management, and student demographics play a bigger role than the number of courses taught. Following the quantitative analysis, a qualitative survey was conducted to gain more insights into the instructional practices and perceptions that may impact progression outcomes, focusing only on part-time faculty. Although the initial analysis focused on instructors who taught 7 or more courses, the inclusion threshold was lowered for the survey phase to enhance participation because we had low participation rate, while still ensuring respondents had sufficient teaching experience. And the survey targeted instructors from the two groups, the top 20% instructors and the bottom 20% instructors, specifically those who had taught 2 or more sections during these 2 academic years, 2022 till 2024. The survey was sent to 11 instructors in the top 20% performance tier, and only 5 instructors responded. The same survey was also sent to 18 instructors in the bottom 20% performance tier, and only 8 instructors responded. Let's take a look at the qualitative data results. Survey responses from the top 20% group showed strong instructor engagement and participation, feedback, and student progress. Instructors actively participated in discussions, provided timely feedback, shared lecture notes, and integrated current events, which likely enhanced course relevance and student success. We believe that this proactive approach, especially in providing timely feedback and promoting engagement, contributed to high performance and progression rate. In contrast, the bottom 20% group showed inconsistent engagement and feedback. We found that few instructors integrated current events or shared lecture notes, which limited course relevance. And delayed feedback, often taken more than 2 business days, delayed student progress. And less consistent participation in discussion boards may have reduced student involvement and connection. So what do the results tell us here? Based on the results of this study, the following recommendations are proposed. Return feedback within 1 to 2 business days to help students stay on track and make necessary improvements promptly. Second, share encouraging and supportive feedback in the discussion board by providing constructive guidance and positive reinforcement. 3, engage more deeply in course discussions to identify and correct misconceptions and guide students to deeper understanding. Also, we recommend integrating current trends, topics, and events into discussions and announcements to make course content more relevant to students. And finally, use the announcements to reinforce key course concepts, not only to provide logistical updates and due dates reminders. In all, the results indicated no correlation between student count or course count and the progression rates. That's why other external factors, such as student motivation, student demographics, teaching style, and instructors' course management skills, could play a larger role in students' ability to progress through the courses. And this means that progression is not just about the quantity of teaching, but how effectively the instructor manages their teaching load and supports their students. And finally, I would like to discuss the limitations of this study. So there are many limitations in this study that may impact the results. One key limitation is that student preparedness and demographics, including previous academic achievement, likely influence progression rates, and this is supported by literature. But these factors were not controlled in this study. While these unmeasured confounding variables may partially impact the results, they were not accounted for in our study. Also, institutional policies such as withdrawal deadlines, incomplete grade policies, and access to academic support services may affect progression patterns independently of instructional practices. These policies could introduce variability that is unrelated to specific teaching strategies or techniques or instructional methods being assessed in this study. Also, the course design itself represents another limitation. All instructors in this study taught within the same standardized online course shell, which included predetermined assignments, readings, and materials. This standardization may limit instructors' ability to fully customize their teaching approaches, potentially masking the true impact of individual instructional techniques. Also, the constraints of online environment may influence how we as instructors implement certain strategies, as they may be different from the strategies used in face-to-face settings. The qualitative portion of this study relied heavily on self-reported survey data from instructors, which can introduce the potential for biases. Instructors might over-report practices they believe to be beneficial or under-report those they perceived as less effective. And since this study did not include direct observations of actual teaching practices or student perspective on instruction, it was not possible to verify whether reported practices align with actual implementation within the classroom. Finally, this study focused specifically on progression grades in online English 121, which is Comp 1, and English 122, which is English Composition 2, courses at a single institution here at UAGC. And as such, the finding may not be generalized to other disciplines, delivery modalities, or institutions, especially those with different student populations and instructional models. And this concludes this presentation, and I'll be happy to take any comments or questions.
Any comments to this?
Hi there. I'd love to jump in.
Yes, sure.
Thank you, Haley.
Absolutely. Dr. Shehadeh, you shared on one of your slides, you talked about engaging more deeply. I believe it was in the discussion forums.
Yeah.
Can you share some examples of what that looked like that you identified that impacted, the higher progression rate?
Yes, the instructors with the high progression rates reported that they integrate examples, external readings, and they connect the class concepts, the concepts that are being discussed in the discussion, to real life scenarios or examples. So for example, in English 121 and English 122, and this is an example that I use in my own courses. We all know the topic of AI and how it's changing the educational landscape and even the workplace. So I ask students, should instructors teaching first-year writing courses allow a limited use of AI tools? And how you as a student can avoid plagiarizing or over-relying on AI? So this is one topic, and this connects the students also to the to workplace skills, because I engage with the students in discussions to discuss how AI is not only used in the classroom, it's heavily used in the workplace. Like, for example, in employee performance, in employee schedules and meetings. So this is a specific example can connect the class concepts to real life scenarios or situations, and the students would be able to see a connection between what we teach in the classroom and the outside world.
Okay, that's great to hear. It does answer the question. And I know based on student demographics here at UAGC, how much our students value the real world application. So that
They
does.
do.
Mhm.
I believe they do. For example, we teach students from different backgrounds and different ages. So in one of the discussions, I ask students, choose a TikTok video, like a clip, and connect it to a real scholarly article, like the topic that is being discussed in this TikTok. Connect it to find an article that discusses the same topic, and then compare what this video is addressing, is talking about, and if the same information is mentioned in that scholarly source. So that way they see that even TikTok or blogs, they talk about similar topics that we found in news articles and scholarly research. So we help them to see a broader connection, like the broader connection of the class concepts to the outside world, whether it's their personal life, professional life, and even the academic life.
Mhm. I've been reading a little bit on transformative learning theory, and it shares how adult learners need to encounter that sort of dilemma that you're setting up between what they see, what they know, and other information in order to have the opportunity to examine their perspectives and maybe, well, I could probably put it succinctly and say, and then to learn, but really to widen their perspective and maybe think through different approaches. So I appreciate that emphasis on the personal, professional, and academic life and giving them another opportunity to share that.
Thank you, Haley.
Yeah,
Thank you.
my pleasure.
And Jen Robinson posted a question here. It says, what are your next steps? Will you turn this into a training to support all faculty?
Yes, and this is an excellent question. Yes, this is something that I will be presenting in our next training or webinar for English faculty. So we will be offering like a training to help them like to apply the findings of this study and help them apply these techniques within their classroom, like to have a higher progression rate, to have a higher engagement rate with the students, and hopefully like higher success rate. So yes, this will be shared with at least the English faculty. Yes.
Very good. Very good. Any more questions?
I know I'm the behind the scenes tech host, but I wanna have fun too. Hazar, my question is kind of connected to both Jen's and Haley's. This context was specifically for the English courses that you design and deliver, and the development you'll be doing for faculty, as I understand, is for those faculty. I wonder if you could speak a little bit to, or conjecture, because maybe the answers aren't clear right now, what the connection between the engagement strategies that you identified through this study were most successful and the design of the courses you're teaching, which is to say that in this circumstance of your study, particular kinds of engagements in the discussion were very successful. Is it possible that in another course that's designed in a different way, those strategies might need to be applied in a different area or have like a different kind of approach? And have you thought at all about expanding the study in that regard?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Teresa. I want to comment on the course design. And Dr. Pritz is working on the AI initiative and as a faculty fellow. And this is what we just did in English 121. We revised the discussion prompts to talk about the AI topic. And we we wrote specific prompts to ask students how do they see AI, how they can use it in their in their assignments, and even outside college, outside the classroom, in their work as employees in the workplace. So we already implemented in one way or another the findings of this study into I don't want to say I'm redesigning, but revising the current discussion assignments we have in English 121, and hopefully the same will be done in English 122, 225, and other courses that I can't control and I don't have the power to do so. But yes, we like I know Dr. Robinson is here, and she's leading the new instructional expectations, and we ask instructors to return grades within 3 days. Our findings indicated that the top instructors, the instructors with the top progression grades, they return feedback within 1 or 2 days. So can we make it a policy? I don't think so. Like, we already ask instructors to return feedback within 3 days, which is logical and good enough, I would say. But yes, some instructors they are high achievers, and they return feedback, engage more with students in the discussion board. One of the things that I would take away and from this study, and I'm planning to work on, is to design announcements, and like how these announcements should not only discuss like paragraph development, like citation, or like the English concepts, writing concepts we discuss in these courses. We need to connect to the weekly guidance and announcements. We need to connect them and to tie them to actual trends and events happening now and affecting all of us. So this is the next step, and looking at the course design that you asked me about, and I hope I answered your question because I'm reading the chat.
No, I think so.
And
oh, sorry. I was
Oh,
just
it's
going to
okay.
say, Hazar, you're pointing out the close connection between facilitation practices and the actual design of the course, right? The instructional expectations can't be held in a void from what the course itself is. So it's an interesting conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for the
All
question.
right. I think we have time for one last comment question here by Carl.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a quick question, Dr. Hazar.
Yeah.
Based on the study, is there an institutional practice that had the biggest impact on retention? And is it possible to apply it to my own cybersecurity program?
That's an interesting question. Well, as I said, these are the study focused on English courses, and the results cannot be generalized. However, the study itself can be replicated, and you can replicate the same exact study in another program, surveying other faculty teaching courses other than English. And that would give us like data that we can analyze at an institutional level. And that would be really interesting. But as a researcher, I strongly believe that these practices that we identified, they can be universal, because even if you're teaching a biology course or a Spanish course, we all need to engage with the students in the discussion board, like really engage with them to promote critical thinking, connect ideas, not just commenting on stylistic issues or surface issues or topics that without going deeply into all the discussion on topics. All of us can return feedback, provide substantive feedback to all students across all programs. But as I said, the results may not be generalized. Also considering we have a small sample size in this study. But yes, it can be replicated, and I do recommend and encourage everyone who's interested in replicating this study to reach out to me, and I can share the study design.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for the
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Hazar. It's been a very informative session, and thank you so much for all the information you gave us. Thank you, everybody, for participating, for being here today. Thanks.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.